All right, besties, doubleheader today. I hope you're all staying warm in there and cozying up. Grab your hot chocolate, grab your snacks, because we're at episode 22, My Month with a Billionaire. I leave Harley in bed with his ladies on his video in his left hand, and I go to my room. I will not be stopped from having good sleep, y'all. I don't care if there's drama. I don't care what it is. Your girl's getting some sleep. I sleep like a little princess, and I am determined to make a plan for the next day. Nobody crosses my boundaries like that and gets to push me. I've been through way too much shit in my life to let another man railroad me over my boundaries and push me to my limit. Billionaire or not, putting me up or not, diamonds or not, I don't care. Ladies, decide what your boundary is and stick to it, because if you don't stand for that, you'll fall for everything. Especially as a young girl, I wish that someone had taught me that when I was in my early age dating and teens and preteens and even in my early 20s. I wish that I had learned that your boundaries are important no matter the circumstance, and that you can always figure it out as long as you stay true to yourself. I wake up in the morning and I had locked the door because I was like, this man better not barge in here and try to snuggle up on me and throw another video in my face. I had set my alarm early for 7 a.m. because I was like, I need to go on a run. I need to burn off this energy and this anger. And if he is down there, I'm going to ignore him and I'm going to go about my day and I am going to figure out my next move. I walk out of my room and I look over and the vault is shut, which probably means that because Harley has a PT table in his room, that the PT person is there. So I walk downstairs and I'm looking for little Kristen, but she's not down there, so I assume she's still sleeping. Otherwise, I would have crawled into her room and crawled into bed and gobbled her ear off and told her what was going on. Jay's guy was probably slept over, and I didn't want to walk in and disturb anything there. So I walk into the kitchen, and it's just Chef Drew in there with Maria, the housekeeper, and Jack, the assistant. They're all just kind of like chatting and eating, and Jack is eating some eggs, and Drew's cutting up some fruit, and Maria is just wiping down the counters. And they're like, good morning. I'm like, hello. And Chef Drew's like, what'll it be this morning? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go on a run first, and then I'll come back. So make me something that can be good for post run, like whatever the flu you think, but I'm going to go ahead and run on an empty stomach because I want to get out of here right now. And they were like, oh, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just came down to get my coffee. I'll have a cold brew and then I go and change and then I'm going to go on a run. And they're like, what else are you doing today? And I was like, oh, I'm actually going to be going and looking at some apartments and see what else is going on. They're like, okay, well, how was your date last night? And I was like, it was fine. I was like, I will tell y'all about it later. And they're like, oh, okay. I go upstairs. I change really quick. I do not want to see Harley at this point. I get my little workout outfit on and I go out into the neighborhood. I exit the little Encino gates and I take a lovely little run around the Encino Hills. I run like 3 to 5 miles usually when I go. I was just kind of contemplating all the things that I'd gone through and thinking about what it was that I was going to do. And I was like, you know what? We're going to see how this man responds to me when I get there. We're going to see how I feel when I see him, because I have done so much work on trusting myself that I know how I'm going to feel immediately when I see him, and then that will dictate how I'm going to move forward. I get back, I'm like tired. I walk into the house, and as soon as I walk in, I hear his voice speaking in the kitchen to Kristen, and she's just like kind of chatting away, and I hear Jason there as well. And so I walk in, and Kristen's like, there you are. And I'm like, hello. Harley's just kind of looking at me like, and I look at Jace. I'm like, how you guys doing? How was your night? And they're like, oh, we actually stayed up really late. We were just chilling in the hot tub and then we went to bed. And Jace kind of has his arm like on Kristen's arm, just kind of stroking it. And I'm like, oh, they're actually a cute couple. And I need to make a mental note that I need to ask her what's going on with that. Harley's like, hey, he puts his hand out to give me a hug. I completely ignore him and act like I don't see him. And I walk over and I just kind of stand next to Chef Drew and I lean up against the counter and I'm like, did you make me a little protein thing? And he's like, I made you a protein scramble. He's like, I got you some smoked salmon with some eggs and a whole grain bagel. Does that sound good? I was like, dude, that's fucking perfect. Kristen's like, how was the rest of y'all's night? And I was like, ask Harley. And she looks at Harley and Harley's looking at me like, oh my God. And Kristen's like, Harley. And he was like, hey, do you want to come and sit outside in the yard and eat with me? And I was like, sure, Harley. Looking at his face and the way he's looking at me, I'm not happy. And I think this is going to keep going on. So I'm going to go outside and I'm going to tell this man that I need a couple days away from him to figure out what I'm going to do. So he needs to put me up in a hotel or something because I need to figure it out. We go outside and he is just carrying his little protein shake. He is wearing some little shorts and a little tank top and a backwards hat. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, ugh. I love a backwards hat though. He sits down on one of the lawn chairs and he just kind of pats the lawn chair so I can sit on the lawn chair with him, and I sit on the lawn chair next to him because I am not going to be next to you, sir. And I look at him and he goes, are you still pissed at me? And I was like, are you still a perverted boundary breaker? And he goes, I'm not a pervert. And I was like, Harley? And he goes, we all have our kinks, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that you have your own things. And I'm like, uh-huh. And he was like, and I'm sorry, you just weren't ready to see mine. I was like, no, see, this is where you got me fucked up because you are blaming me And you're gaslighting me by saying that my boundaries mean that I'm just not ready for it. He's like, that's not gaslighting. I'm like, that is textbook gaslighting. You are not validating my feelings. You are not accepting that this is how I feel. You keep pushing me by being like, oh, I'm sorry that you got your feelings hurt. I'm sorry that you were uncomfortable. You don't get to apologize for me. You take responsibility for yourself, and that is how we grow as people, and that is how we can grow in this relationship or situationship or where the hell we were doing here. And he's like, I don't ask much of you. I'm like, okay, here we go. He goes, all I ask is that while you're here, you feed into my preferences. I was like, see? Okay, here come the manipulation. Harley, you can get me a hotel room. I'm going to go stay there for a few days and figure out if I want to ever speak to you again. And that's going to be the hard boundary because you clearly don't understand the issue here. And he goes, I'm not going to get you a hotel room. Why would I do that? I want you to stay here. And I was like, okay, if you're not going to get me a hotel room, then I'll figure out somewhere else to stay. And he was like, where are you going to stay? I was like, I'll figure it out. I stand up and he's like, wait, we're not done talking. I was like, I'm done talking. I go inside. I'm freaking pissed. There is nothing more angering to me than being invalidated by a man, being told that I'm the problem, being manipulated and gaslit. I've gone through too much of my life to go through this shit again. I go in and Kristen looks at me and I'm like, I need to talk to you. And she immediately, because she's my girl, hops up and she goes, let's go in my room. I was like, all right. We walk into her room and she's like, what's going on? I tell her about what happened last night. She's like, ew. I'm like, yeah, girl. She's like, I'm not gonna lie. This is literally like almost exactly what happened with Gabby. And I was friends with his ex-girlfriend and she complained about this all the time as well. I just thought that he'd grow out of this at some point, but clearly he just cannot get out of this weird mindset that he has and just try to do things normally. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if he was open-minded and was like, you know what, like maybe that's something we can talk about in the future after we've been intimate and done the things that you were comfortable with. And then maybe we can introduce this if later there's trust built and you feel like you want to do this. But to say like, this is the only thing that I want, and then to say that the only thing you ask of me is to do this with you. So what, you're saying that this whole time, the only reason you've done all these things for me is so that you can get me in bed with another girl? Like, no. And Kristen's like, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, I told him that I want to go stay at a hotel for a few days. And she was like, no, I want you here. And I was like, I know, girl. She's like, well, why don't you go stay at my parents' house? And I was like, in Malibu. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know them though. And she's like, no, they're totally cool. And then she's like, actually, you know what? She's like, why don't you go stay at Scotty's? Because Scotty has a condo in Studio City nearby. He lives right next to the Equinox. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, he has an extra bedroom. Like, I'm sure he'd be happy if he stayed there. I was like, that would piss Harley the hell off. And she was like, I know, it's kind of great, right? I'm like, I love this girl. She's like, all right, how about this? Let's go out. I'm going to be like, Harley, you don't have to get her a hotel because she's going to stay at Scotty's. And then we're going to see what he says. And I was like, all right, bet. She calls Scotty on speaker while we're in there. And he answers. He's like sounding out of breath because I guess he was at the gym. And she tells him the situation. He's like, of course, Kat, you can stay with me as long as you need to. Like, I have a second bedroom and I split my time between Studio City and also my parents' house in Malibu. So you're more than welcome. I'm like, oh, I love having rich friends. He's like, yeah, you can go to Equinox with me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, amazing. I'm excited now because I really like Scotty and I think he's a great guy and I think he's a good friend. And I'm excited to go to Erewhon and go to Equinox with him. Like, yes, someone around my age that I can just like go around with. And so we walk out. Harley is leaning on the counter just talking with Dana. Chef Drew is just standing there cooking and talking with Maria. And Jace is over there just chatting with Chef Drew as well. And they both look up and Harley's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I was just talking to Kristen and she's figuring it out. So you don't have to figure it out for me. You don't have to get me a hotel. And he was like, what? And Dana's like, a hotel. And Harley's like, no, what are you talking about? And Kristen's like, yeah, Kat's going to stay at Scotty's until she can find her own place and figure out what she wants to do next. This man takes his fist and he slams it on the marble counter. Everyone's like, and he's like, what? I was actually like, damn, I have not seen this man mad like that. And I'm like, this is a red flag because what is this anger right now? Dana's like, Harley. Harley's like, no, you're not staying with Scotty. I go, well, that's not really up to you. Because as soon as I walk out those doors, I am not your problem anymore. And I'm also not your responsibility and not your property. So I can do whatever I want. Everyone's just in there like pretending to do things. Drew is doing up the skillet. Jace is over there biting into a sausage. Like, where am I? Maria's over there just like dusting things, like listening at the same time. Dana is like, what the hell? I'm like, all right, I'm going to go pack my stuff. Kristen's like, okay. She goes and sits back next to Jace and she looks over at Harley. And Harley's looking at her like, you are going to be disowned after this. I walk up the stairs and I'm just kind of packing my stuff. I hear footsteps. Heavy footsteps. You know who that be. I'm just packing my shit up and I hear a knock on the door. I look over and Harley's in the doorway and I'm like, hello. And he's like, And I can tell he is trying hard to keep it together. And I was like, do not outburst on me again. Don't slam your fist. Don't do anything. I don't play with that. He was like, please, I don't want you to stay with Scotty. And I was like, well, again, not up to you. He goes, I'll get you a hotel. I was like, it's fine. I'm going to stay with Scotty. He goes, no, please let me get you a hotel. I will get you a room at the Pendry, nice hotel in West Hollywood. I was like, yeah, I know of the Pendry. And he was like, I will get you a hotel. I will get you a room there. We can take some time apart. You can think about it and take some time away from me. Please just don't stay with Scotty. I'm looking at this man and I'm like, and if I do stay with Scotty, what are you going to do? And he was like, it will make me very sad. And I was like, sad or mad? And he was like, both. And I was like, and will you do some destructive behaviors or what will you do? And he was like, I will probably have to go meditate and do a bunch of breathing exercises with Dana. I was like, you know what, Harley? Fine. You want to pay for me to stay at the Pendry? Great. I want your card on file so I can get room service and I can go to the spa, to the gym and everything. Because y'all, at this point, I had not really had any privacy. I was with people all the time. Like from the fires happening and me being in Dallas with my family to immediately coming to LA and staying at my friends' places. And I was staying in different Airbnbs, so I did have alone time there. But then being with Harley and spending all the days there with him and everyone, I was actually kind of ready to have my own space and just take a little bit of time by myself. And I was like, fine, you can get me that. That's fine. I'm like, do you mind if I take the Audi to go and look at my appointments today? And then after that, I'll come back and you can send me an Uber to the hotel. He's like, no, no, no. Take the Audi for as long as you need. Take it to the hotel. That way you have transportation. And that way, if you miss being here, you can come back. I'm like, fine. He walks over and he's now kneeling next to me as I'm packing stuff. And he's like looking at me. He just like reaches over and touches part of my hair. And I kind of look at him and he was like, I'm really, really sorry. I'm working on my issues. I promise I'm going to talk to my therapist. I really don't want you to leave. And I said, Harley, I need at least a day away from here to gather my thoughts, think about how I feel about the situation, be away from you and just get some alone time. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah. He looks at me and he goes, what if I never bring up the sums again? I can just try it the old-fashioned way. I said, we can talk about that later, Harley, but not right now because I really need to get ready and get my shit together. And he was like, so there's nothing else that I can do to make you stay? Like, I'm an open book, whatever you want, just ask me, like, I'll make it happen. And then I remembered the conversation I had with my friend Todd. And I said, all right, there's something you can tell me. He goes, what is it? I said, don't lie to me. And he goes, of course. I said, have you and Dana ever hooked up? He looks at me like this. No. I said, really? And he goes, no, of course not. Okay, clock that, y'all. When I'm ready, he carries down my stuff for me. I hug Kristen and he tells Jack to get the room ready. And Jack says that he's on it. I leave, I go look at my appointments in different places. And after I'm done, I start heading over to the Pendry in West Hollywood, which is a super cute, it is my favorite hotel in LA now. And I go to the front desk and everything is taken care of. I go up to my room and I was just like, I can relax, y'all. I called my friend, we're going to call her Reggie, and I was like, hey girl, I'm at the Pendry, and she lived over in Hermosa Beach, but I was meaning to see her. And now that I had my own space, I was like, you want to have a girls' night? And she was like, absolutely. She comes over and we order room service, we order some burgers and fries, and we just sit in the bed and I tell her all about everything with Harley, and she is shook with y'all. Now, Reggie, I call her the Paris Hilton of Mexico because her family owns a bunch of really, really nice hotels in Mexico City. So she is like my little rich princess. And I'm just kind of telling her everything. And she obviously knows like rich people talk. So she's like, wow, this man is connected. I'm like, yeah. Harley's texting me. He's like, hey, do you want to go to dinner? I'll come over to Beverly Hills and have dinner with you close to where you're at. And we can chat more. I text him back. I'm like, no, Harley, I'm having a girls' night at my hotel. And he was like, who's with you? I'm like, my friend Reggie. And he's like, Reggie's a girl? I'm like, yes, Reggie's a girl. And he was like, okay. I know this man is thinking like, is she having a man at the hotel room? And I'm like, I would love if this man just busted up in here to see if there was a man there. Like, I would love it, right? Kristen's texting me. I'm kind of telling her what's going on. Reggie and I get wine drunk and rosé drunk, and then we fall asleep. We have all the blinds shut because me and Reggie love our damn sleep. No one sleeps better than a happy girl, I think. It is pitch black, and her and I are snuggled in the bed, and I just hear on the door. In my dreams, I'm dreaming about happy things, right? Dogs chasing rainbows, kittens, and butterflies, and I hear someone knocking in my dreams. I'm like, who is disturbing my princess dreams? Kind of open my eye, but it's dark as hell. I look over, Reggie's asleep, her little blonde mess of a hair is all over the place, and I'm like, who the hell is here? I look at the time, it is 7:15. I'm like, who the F is here at 7:15? Knock, knock, knock. I'm like, who is that? I open the door. I can't see, y'all. I don't have my contacts in. I'm like, where the hell are my glasses? I look and I see a Indian man, but his face is blurry. I'm like, hold on 1 second. He's like, hi, Kat. Undiscernible accent. I'm like, what? I go and I turn back to the table. I grab my glasses. I put them on. I look. It's Taj. Who's Taj, remember? The jewelry guy. I'm like, Taj? And he's like, hi. He's like, I'm so sorry. Did I wake you up? I'm like, yes, you woke me up. He was like, oh, sorry. He's like looking in. He's like, so sorry to disturb you. Are you alone? I was like, no, my friend Reggie's here. And he was like, oh, he's looking in. I'm like, did this man come to spy on me? And he was like, I have something for you. I'm like, okay. He's like, can I come in? I'm like, yeah, well, my girlfriend is sleeping, but yes, come on in. He walks in and he's got a little crossbody bag on him, y'all. He's wearing a suit at 7 in the morning. I'm like, what is happening? Because I am disoriented and I have not had coffee yet. And he just pulls out this box from the bag and he goes, I have something for you with a note and it's from Harley. I'm like, what? He's like, yep. He had me working to source this and it was not easy, but I look, y'all. I'm like, my sleepy ass brain is like, get it together, princess, because he just pulled out a jewelry box that says Van Cleef on it. I'm like, if this is this man's apology, it's working. And remember, y'all, I had told him that I really wanted a special edition baby pink mother of pearl Alhambra Van Cleef with rose gold. Whoever said that money can't buy happiness? Yes, y'all. Episode 23. The note from Harley. Do I return to the Mansion of Madness? And do we find the truth about him and Dana? Thank you so much for being here. And everyone, please stay safe out there in the snowstorm. And also, the world is a very, very sad and dark place right now. Please, everyone, stay safe out there. Love each other. The best thing we can do to each other is be kind. I hope that you guys can find some happiness and joy today, apart from all the horrors that are happening in the world. You are seen, you are important. I love you, and I see you. Big hug, big kiss.